Welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today we are joined by Peter John Mata, a skydiver, entrepreneur, and life coach who transformed his life. After addiction and suicide attempts, he now helps others create healthy, purpose-driven life and build resilience through mindset, actions, and community. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So, Peter, in one sentence, what challenge shaped you into who you are today?
Change your environment, change your life.
Hmm.
My belief is that, if you keep going to the same environment and expect change, then you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
So, change your environment, change your life is the statement I use all the time.
Yeah, amazing. So, how did your early life and winning the lottery influence your path?
I think what happened is the lottery wasn't the thing that was the real big kicker. I think the main thing was that I came into money, and whether it was lottery, whether it was an inheritance, whether it was something else, I was just struggling at that time in my life, all the way from being a child all the way up to age 36, and it just kind of enhanced it. And I just wasn't looking at how to grow. I wasn't looking at how to change my patterns. I wasn't looking at how to change my environment. It was more just about my belief at that time of my past was this is who I am, and if you don't like it, then tough shit. And that was kind of my thought process, and now that's completely different. So I think it was never to do with the lottery or anything like that. It was just who I was. It was just
Yeah.
what my beliefs were. That was it. And we'll talk quickly about the lottery as well, because you brought it up. Is the lottery is an amazing thing. It's it's something that is so lucky. I'm very, very one of very few people in the world that I'll ever get to say that they really won a big amount of money in the lottery with my mum. And it's the same as if you get an inheritance, and if you're a bad person, or if you're not in a great state, or if you're not a person that really likes to do things for others or whatever, or very selfish as in the wrong way as well, then you'll use that money to just be a worse person in retrospect.
Yeah.
If you're a person that's got a lot of money anyway, and you're a beautiful, blessed person, and you love to give things back and you love to do things for other people, then that money will just enhance that. So I kind of see money, and definitely now, that it enhances whoever you actually are.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things that I would say.
Yeah, that's really, really amazing. Especially when you just make reference of that, it enhances who you are. And it just don't mean that, yeah, actually money is an amplifier. It amplifies who you are. It amplifies the value you have. It amplifies the attitude, the character, and each and everything that have brought you to that particular state before you got it. So what led you to struggle with drug, alcohol, and mental health?
That was more than likely, again, the environment. I think the conversation today is based around environment. You asked me at
Yeah.
the beginning was one statement: change your environment, change your life. And if I look at my past childhood, when I was playing golf a lot, I used to play golf as a child. I then went from playing golf. I had a broken childhood with my parents, like a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
And that's not a story. That is the story. It's just not who I am now. It doesn't define me. Back then it did. I played a lot of sport as a child. I was very good at golf. I was very good at different sports. And then I started to work in a bar, at the age of 16, 17-year-old, just doing glass collecting, just odd jobs. And then I started working behind the bar when I got old enough to do that. Then I got into a different bar, and that was kind of my life. And that at that point, if I'm honest with you, I didn't really drink. Like, I didn't really drink alcohol. I kind of did a little bit. I started drinking alcohol when I was like 13, 14, trying it.
Ooh.
And then it kind of just spiraled from there, really. And then I did it, and then I stayed in that environment a lot. And I think, growing up as a child when it comes to alcohol, and you go to a family party, you're like 10, 11, 12-year-old, whatever age it is. All the adults used to go into the kitchen. They'd shut the door off to the other children or whatever, or we'd go in another room and we'd do whatever we were doing as kids. And then the adults would be in the kitchen drinking alcohol. Used to be smoking cigarettes back in the day in the house. Not a lot of people do that no more. And as a child, you're like, I want to be like that. So
Yeah.
like you're like, I want to be like that. I want to be in this cool club, and all my older people that I look up to, they're all drinking, and then from there you're just like, you're curious as a child because that's what I was around, and that was the norm. That still potentially is the norm. I mean, now I looked at the stats recently compared to my era from when I was born to now, there is a big shift, like huge shift in alcohol, right? My belief is it's actually gone more towards drugs, because at the beginning when I was a child, drugs were not a big thing. Now, if I
Yeah,
look at how big drugs are, the likes of weed,
yeah.
cocaine, ecstasy, all that type of stuff, that scale, if it was measured, I think would be higher than it was when I was a child, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Um,
Wow. Yeah,
so,
amazing. How did you find out the turning point that puts you on the
oh,
road to
okay.
rediscovery?
I think that I hit rock bottom. I absolutely hit rock bottom. I was drinking in excess of 3 bottles of wine a day. I was doing a lot of cocaine. I was doing a lot of drugs, you know, and I hit rock bottom. I had nowhere else to go except die, and I attempted suicide. I had nowhere else to go. My body was shutting down. I was taking sleeping tablets to get to sleep, and I had nowhere to go. And I'm not recommending for 1 minute that you have to get to that stage to
Yeah,
be able to change at all, because we can do it like this. We can change in a heartbeat. And that's what happened. I hit rock bottom. Something in my life happened, with a relationship. And then I just one day decided, I got up, I went, I don't want to do this no more. This is what I'm going to do. There's got to be something better than this. This can't be just what life's all about. I'm
yeah,
seeing all these people doing amazing things, and I'm seeing people have loving relationships, and I'm like, I want that. Okay, so if I want it, then how do I get it? Why do I want it? Because I was a very lonely human being. I was an only child. So my mum did a great job. She was a beautiful mum. She still is. She brought me up on her own, just me and her. Realistically, I was no siblings. So I was a very lonely human being. And now the beautiful gift of that is this: I love to be on my own now. Like, I understand what it feels like to be on my own. Like, when I'm with people, that's beautiful. I love that as well. I also understand what it's like to be on my own, and I'm all good with being on my own. Like, I sometimes go away and I'm just on my own and I just don't want to see anybody for like 3 or 4 days. I'll speak to my
yeah.
beautiful, amazing wife on the phone via text message, maybe a quick phone call. Otherwise than that, I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't want to see anybody. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, how did our skydiving and extreme sport contribute to your mindset and growth?
I think no, I'm going to rephrase that. I always know that I've had a really growth mindset. I just didn't know how to tap into it. And
Yeah.
I always use sport as a way of growing. So my golf career was very good. Then I got into skydiving at the age of 21. No, sorry, not 21. It would have been 23, I think. Doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
then it was this whole drive to just be as good as possible, as the best I can be. I had a great dream. I've not reached that dream yet, and I'm not really focusing on that dream. But the dream was to be a world champion at skydiving. I reached the goal of being representing my country 3 times. I got to
Wow.
be national champion in my discipline that I was in 3 times as well. Won numerous amounts of silver medals, bronze medals. I thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um,
You're
I
welcome.
spent 15 years on achieving a goal that I wanted, and it was to win and be one of the best skydivers in the UK, and then be very well known across the world. And that is what I achieved. And that, when I look back now about what I know in personal development and growth, and now becoming a coach and a personal development coach, also a health coach, stuff like that. I look back and I'm like, wow, I actually knew a lot then. I just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I just had a lot of drive. That was it. I just had a shit ton of drive. I still have got a shit, like, loads of drive. I just didn't know how to tap into it at certain times, when to do this, and what I was doing all the way through that is I was driving very hard on one thing, and then I was also taking a lot of drugs and alcohol because I didn't understand who I was.
Yeah. Wow. That was really a lot. And yeah, I'm glad you're able to kind of come out of it. So, what role did Tony Robinson and Dean Graziosi play in your personal transformation?
Huge, I could just leave it at that. I could leave it at that if you want me to. I could just leave it straight to the answer of huge.
Wow, that was really amazing.
Would you
Yeah.
would you like me to elaborate on that, or would you like me to just leave it
Yes,
at
yes,
that?
yes. A bit, elaborate a bit about.
Okay, okay. So Tony, we'll talk about Tony first, and then we'll talk about Dean after that. So Tony was a gentleman that came into my life through another friend of mine. She sent me a book. I listened to him. The first time I listened to him, I just didn't like his voice. I was like, wow, I do not like your voice at all. I mean, serious, dude. I was like, I do not like this guy. I don't understand this guy. And that was just all fear. And then in the end, what happened is there was a moment where I was driving along and I flicked him back on his book. The book's called Unleash the Power Within, by the way. It's day one of his seminars, 6 hours of his seminar from Unleash the Power Within. And it's on Audible. And there's a section of it that said, if you keep going to the same bar and drinking the same drinks and expecting a different result, then you'll never get out of it. You'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Don't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And then this is where it changed. They said, change your environment, change your life. And my head just went boom. My eyes just opened up. I stopped the car. I was like, whoa, shit. Like, I get it. And then I started driving again. I was like, I get it. I really get it now. And at that point, I didn't really particularly still like Tony at the time. I didn't know the guy, so I had nothing bad about him. You know what I mean? It's just, I didn't resonate. That's the word I'm looking for with him. And then all of a sudden that statement came out and I was like, boom, shit. Like bang. And then from there, I just did a lot of research on what was going on with Tony. And I was listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of stuff that he was doing and all this type of stuff. And I kind of got into it. And then I went to say, you know what, I'm going to go and do one of his seminars. I'm going to do his seminar. And then I looked at the price and I was like, dude, not a chance. I'm like, dude, no way.
Yeah.
Like, no way. And then what happened is, because I'd looked at so much stuff, I ended up getting one of his results coaches. Right? So Tony Robbins has a results coach through RRI, and I ended up getting one of them. And the deal was this. It was X amount of money for 18 months of coaching, and then you get 2 free UPW tickets online. And I was like, well, that sounds like a really cool deal. You know, sounds like a really cool deal. So I ended up joining that. And then I went to UPW, and this is where my life exponentially went from being like good and getting better to like being outstanding, to being next level. Like seriously, like it just snowballed. And it was just like when people believe that they're good, they're really not. They're like, you're kind of just plodding along in life. And at that point, I was way better than I was when I started this, from wanting to attempting to commit suicide, being a drug addict. At this point, when I got to like doing his first seminar, I was kind of like, I think I was 18 months clean or 19 months clean, something like that. So I was kind of doing, compared to where I was doing amazing. And then I went to UPW virtual and it was like, boom, my eyes lit up. I was like, so much more energy, so much more going on for my life. You know, and then from there I started to understand, this is what I understood is this. Knowledge is only potential power. Action is where all the power is. And from that day I said, right, I'm going to commit X amount of time. And then, you want to write that down?
Yeah, continue.
That's okay, I'll say it again. Knowledge is only potential power.
Yeah.
Action is where all the power is.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
You're more than welcome. I started to take action on it. And fast forward 3 years, so March of 2022 was my first one. March 22, I think it was. What was it, 20? I think it was, no, March 23, sorry. March 23, you know, fast forward then. I've now done all of his courses. I got married in his resort to the most amazing, beautiful wife that I've got now. You know, she's part of it, the Tony world as well now. And then I got to understand and realize who Dean Graciosi was. I do a lot of volunteering stuff for Tony Robbins. So Dean's always been around. I've met Dean once or twice before. And then now I'm part of a group with him where we're now going and teaching my story through health and well-being in a company that I've set up with a friend of mine who's my best friend. He's one of my mentors. It's called the Healthy Mindset Rebels. It's all about health and well-being and mindset, and how do we last as long as we can. And then Dean now is teaching myself how to excel in the personal development game and actually start blowing up. And you are the first person that I'm going to say this to on a podcast. 2 days ago, we got accepted to go to the US, live in the US. So we got accepted 2 days ago for a visa to go and work out there with a company called Crossroad Creations, which is going to be part of Healthy Mindset Rebels, and we're going to be going out there. We're going to go and start changing some people's lives, and that's the story of how Tony and Dean has influenced my life.
Wow, amazing. The story is really lovely. I think, especially when you just make reference of that quote, you just put everything in perspective. That knowledge is a potential power, but action is where the real power is. And that was really, really amazing, and the fact that you taking action, going for the training, taking the courses, was the whole lot of things compared to just hearing it. If there was no action back in it, you would have still been in the same environment where you were, and that was really amazing. Thank you. So how did you navigate building businesses during challenge like COVID?
Oh, that was, how did I manage that? If you want the truth, at the time, I managed it by sniffing a lot of cocaine, right? And that's not the way to go. Look, honesty is the best policy. The truth will set you free. Me being very vulnerable is one of my values in life. And you asked me a question about how did I manage it and how did I go through it. I sniffed a lot of cocaine. That's what I did. Now is a completely different world, because when we bought the business in COVID, the skydiving business in COVID, I didn't know what to do. I mean, no one had been in a situation where the whole world shut down. Never mind just buying a business 3 days before. No one knew what was going on. And you now have a human being that had been involved in alcohol and drugs, and now you're giving him this business, and now it's like, holy moly's, like, I have not got a Scooby-Doo what I'm going to do right now, because no one does. No one knows, and there's no backing, and we just invested. We just took investment of around about just short of 2 million, and then that was one of the things that was the biggest blessing about COVID. The biggest blessing for me for COVID was is that I got to go through something that now shows me how strong of a human being I am when I put my mind to something, and when I'm so focused on it, and when I'm so driven about it. And also the biggest thing is faith. Like, you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can have all the action in the world, but if you've got zero faith and zero belief, then it'll never pay off. And that's the magic dust. Everybody's like, how do you end up, how do you end up getting where you get to move to America? And how have you managed to do this? And how have you managed to do that? And I could say all these things that I've done. And the biggest thing is I wake up and I'm so grateful to be here. And I believe that whatever I'm going to do, whether it turns good or whether it turns bad, or whether it doesn't work out or whether it works out, I will always in the end make it work out by looking, okay, cool. Why did that not work out? What did we do wrong? Okay, where's the lesson in that? How do we make changes? What do we do differently? And it's something that I did a podcast recently on, which will be being launched at the end of this month on Healthy Mindset Rebels podcast, right? About CANIs. It's called Constant Never-Ending Improvement. And I'll say that again, CANIs, Constant Never-Ending Improvement. Even when things are going not the way that we want them to, where can we improve? So back then, I didn't know what I was doing. If I'm honest, I got pretty goddamn lucky that we didn't. First of all, I killed myself. Second of all, I didn't kill somebody else. And then third of all, that all the businesses are still going and I didn't get arrested. So I got pretty goddamn lucky. God in the universe, or the creator, or whatever you want to say, is definitely, there was some sort of energy around me that was going, you got a different path, bro, and you got a different purpose in this life. Right now, we're not going to let you go down that path. So, it changed, and that was belief.
Amazing. Thanks a whole lot. So what advice will you give to someone who is stuck in a cycle of addiction or negativity?
Stop doing it. Like, let's not complicate things, right? Let's just not complicate things. Like, just stop doing it. And someone will say to me, you may say to me, yeah, that's easier said than done. And
Yeah.
it really is that simple. And if you want some sort of multiple techniques or multiple mindset kind of things, then I'll go with it. So, if you're thinking in a negative state, I'll ask you this. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let me ask you a question. Which is easier to do? Think positive or think less negative?
Think negative or think less negative.
All right, sorry,
I
I
think
said that the
think
wrong way. That's my
negative is
bad. I haven't said this in the right manner. Which is the
okay.
easiest to do, right? Think positive or think less negative?
I think positive is more easier compared to think less negative.
Okay, why do you say that?
Uh, Especially when you just make reference of think less negative because it's easier most times to think negative compared to thinking less of it. So the little period that you think positive is more positive compared to saying that less of negative.
Yeah, correct. That would be my belief because the less we think negative, then the more we
It's
have the
more positive.
opportunity to think more
Yeah.
positive, right? Or we can look at it this way, and people will say, well, maybe that's not the way to do. Let's just think more positive. Let's think more positive. No, because your brain is a clever piece of tool, right? Clever piece of shit, right? It's super clever. If you keep saying, I'm happy, 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 and you're not, then your brain's gonna go bullshit. Absolute bullshit. You're not happy at all.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So by thinking less negative and saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not feeling great right now. What can we do about it? All right, let's shift our physiology. Let's shift our focus. Let's not focus on it. So let's focus on less negativity in our lives, right? Because that's like way easier and lighter than me saying, hey, Euro, I want you to think positive all the time. All the time I want you to think positive. You're going to go, well, that's not possible. And I'm going to agree with you,
Yeah.
because if you get hit by a car, right? And I'm saying to you, think positive, think positive, think positive. Well, I'm sorry, at that point in your life, right? First of all, it's going to hurt. Second of all, you might say a few choice words. And third
Yeah.
of all, it's going to be really difficult, really challenging to think positive when you're lying on the floor in a lot of pain. But if you just think less negative, then that makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, so true, so true. Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. So for those who actually want to connect with you, who want coaching and who want to hear more from you and to look into a whole lot of stuff you are still doing and doing, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
So they can reach out to us on Instagram at Peter John Mather 1984. They can reach out to me on Facebook on Peter John Mather, and then you can also reach out to our Instagram and Facebook account right now, which is Healthy Mindset Rebels. I'll just say that again, Healthy Mindset Rebels. And at the end of the month, we will have a podcast, which will be on Spotify, YouTube, and then we will have a landing page website as well called Healthy Mindset Rebels. And that's where you can reach me.
Yeah, amazing. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for sharing your story. Your journey from darkness to purpose reminds us that changing your environment can truly change your life. Yeah, and it's really a pleasure having you on the show also. And also, I think from your quote, it just dawned on me also that, knowledge is a potential power. Beyond just hearing what you just hear, taking action is the actual power you actually get to it. And thank you once again. Thank you, Peter, for the story.
Welcome, brother. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Peter.